Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Monday's session. Thank you for joining. So today we're going to be doing a bit of an all over body flow, which is quite often my favorite kind of flow to do. So we were going to work every part of the body, doing some yoga lying down, sitting, standing, doing a bit of a flow, and then working our way back down to the mat again. And today, just really focusing on kind of the settling into the pose, the breathing, the kind of breathing through the pose, the strength in the pose. Quite often in yoga, I find we're kind of zooming through poses so quickly, it feels quite quick, that you don't really ever kind of get into the pose that you're in. So it's really kind of bringing ourselves into the present, into the pose that we're doing right kind of then and there, rather than thinking about what's coming next. And really using the breath, slowing down the breath, and really noticing how our body feels in each pose and how our body feels as we're moving. Again, we quite often move quite quickly, so we don't really pay attention to how a specific pose is affecting all of our body. And quite often in yoga, we're using the whole body in the pose. So it's really important to appreciate how our body is feeling in each pose. And every time we do yoga, we might feel completely different. We might feel really tired, we might feel full of energy, we might have had a bad night's sleep, we might have had a cracking night's sleep. And it's really important to appreciate that some days will be, days will be different day on day. And just to really pay attention to you, how you're feeling, your body. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the kind of forces that we feel when we're doing yoga. So obviously I do cue inhales and exhales, and inhales are usually for strength, for lengthening, for expanding, for opening. Exhales are for kind of softening, for grounding, for feeling kind of heavy. And when we're in a pose, we're feeling all of those things at the same time. So really focusing, for instance, when we're in our warrior two, the grounding down through the legs, the kind of feeling heavy and strong through the legs at the same time as really lifting up kind of through the upper body, through the hips, and really trying to kind of encompass all of that as we move. So yeah, lots to think about. But as always, most of all, enjoy. Find your pose, find what feels good for you. I am just here to guide. So it's really good to have a bit of a play around with the poses and see if you want to go a bit further, if you want to come out of it a little bit. If something doesn't work for you, then don't do it. And as always, you can always rest in child's pose as and when you need to. So enough of me talking, we'll get started. So coming to lie on your backs, which I think most of you are already there, and bringing our hands to our stomach, closing down the eyes, fully settling in and feeling nice and heavy, nice and grounded, relaxed. Let's take some deep breaths. Let's breathe into our hands. So really filling the chest, filling the belly as we inhale. And then nice, slow, long exhales. Control your exhales. Excuse me. So really full, expanding inhales. And nice, slow, controlled exhales. Okay, now let's breathing just return to normal. So just return back to your kind of everyday breathing. And just feeling a softness around the face, around the neck, around the shoulders, around the hips. Then we'll bring our arms into our cactus position. So bringing elbows in line with shoulders, fingertips kind of pointing up and away from us. Having our arms kind of resting flat, on the floor. If they're not, if our arms, if you can't quite get your arms to come down, then just extend the arms out. So straighten the arms and just have them by your side, or just a little bit further out from your body. But if we can, have them in cactus. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop out to the sides. This is our Supta Baddha Konasana. Reclined Baddha Konasana. So opening up the hips here, And again, just have a bit of a play around. You might want to move the feet a little bit further away from you, especially if you've got a little bit of a niggly lower back. If you need some support under your legs, if it's too much on your hips, then we can put a couple of cushions under our knees maybe. Just have a little bit of a play around and see what works for you today. We're trying to just let the weight of our knees, the weight of our legs just slowly start to open up the hips. Really nice if you've been sat at a desk or sat down working all day. It's great to open up the hips. Again, just bringing your attention to your breathing. Just noticing where you might be holding any tension, especially around the face, the neck, the shoulders, the hips. And then slowly, let's start to slide the feet away from us. So we're going to straighten the legs, at the same time straightening the arms up and overhead. So coming into our pencil stretch, pointing the toes, reaching back with your hands. Then we're going to bring the legs nice and wide, so maybe the width of your mat. And then let's cross our left leg over our right leg. At the same time, bring your hands over to the right. So we're making a banana shape, finding a nice stretch down the left-hand side of the body. And breathing, remembering to breathe. Just noticing how this is feeling, where you're feeling the stretch. It could be in the shoulders, the ribs, the hip, the leg. It could be all of them. Maybe into your back. Then coming back to center with your arms, uncrossing your feet, bringing your left leg wide, and then crossing your right ankle over your left, and bringing the hands over to the left-hand side, so making a banana the other way. And breathing, noticing how this side feels, if your sides feel different, which they might well do. And then bringing your arms back to center, uncrossing your ankles. And then we'll bring the knees into the chest. So coming up into your little ball, having a little rock and roll around. And then finding a bit of stillness. So keeping our hands on our knees, let's take our ankle circles, so warming up the ankles. You can take your circles both ways. And then pointing and flexing the feet, you can do both at the same time, or point one and flex one. And then maybe some more circles. And then let's bring your knees together, hands on your knees, and let's take the feet in a circle together. So just kind of working into the knees and the hips here. We can take our circles both ways. Good. And then taking your left knee in your left hand, right knee in your right hand. Let's take some circles with our knees. So again, just finding your movement here. You can do one knee and then the other. Or we can do both at the same time. We can do a bit of a figure of eight. Kind of really rock and roll around if you need to. Just massaging into your hip joints and the back of the hips into the mat. Okay, bringing the knees hip distance apart, we're going to come into our tabletop position. The knees hip distance apart, feet hip distance apart. You want the knees over the hips and the toes kind of pointing away from you. So nice right angles everywhere. If you can, let's push our lower back into the mat. So we're really engaging our core here. Really good core exercise, even just staying here. And really push that lower back down. Okay, we're going to take the right leg, extend it up towards the ceiling, and then lower down to the mat, extending and lengthening as we go. We're not going to touch the mat, just hover above the mat and then bring that leg back up to your tabletop position. Left side, let's point our toe up towards the ceiling. It doesn't matter if your leg isn't straight, but then straighten and lengthen as we come down towards the floor, hover above the mat, back up to tabletop. And again, right side, strengthen and lengthen, hover above the mat, back to tabletop. Left side, all the way down, back to tabletop. One more each side. Really pushing the lower back down into the mat the whole time here. Protect your back. And left side. Okay, squeezing the knees into the chest, having a little rest. And then back to our tabletop position. So we can either do the same again, or if you want a little bit more, we're going to bring the hands underneath the head, lift the head and the shoulders up off the mat, pushing our lower back into the mat. And as we lift our right leg up towards the ceiling, we bring it down, we're going to bring our right elbow towards our left knee. So just kind of crossing over in our little sit up, bringing the leg back to center. Left leg straighten, lower down, bring the left elbow towards the right knee, back to center. Right side again. And the left. One more each side. Good. Okay, when we are finished, lowering our head, our shoulders back down, squeezing the knees into the chest, having a little rock and roll around. And then we will make our way up to our seated position, so we can rock our way up or just come onto your side and push yourself up. So coming to our cross-legged position. If you have anything to sit on, a block or any support, then just place that under your hips, which can be quite nice to help get the length through our spine when we are there. Grounding down through our sit bones, reaching up through the crown of the head. Again, feeling these two opposing forces going on. So feeling the heaviness, the grounding, the support, kind of in the lower half of your body, and then feeling a bit of lightness. Kind of just the lengthening, the expansion in the upper half of your body. Maybe closing down the eyes when we are here. Bringing the attention to our breathing. Noticing how we're feeling. And then taking some shoulder rolls. And really taking it slowly with the shoulder rolls. Mindfully moving, so really noticing what's going on in our shoulders. Are they feeling a bit crunchy, a bit sore, a bit achy? They might be feeling completely fine. And they might crunch a lot all the time. And then maybe taking some circles the other way. And then letting the shoulders drop back and down, coming into our side stretches. So just placing one hand down, reaching up and over with the other. And then just pausing in our side stretch. Again, noticing where we feel it. Kind of bringing your attention to the stretch, where we're feeling the stretch, breathing into it. So using your exhales to soften, see if you can stretch a little bit further. And coming back up to center, let's go over to the other side. Still feeling that grounding down through the sit bones, down through the feet. And feeling that kind of length, that space coming through the side body. keeping your breath slow and steady, noticing how this side feels compared to the last side. Good, coming back up to center. Let's reach up with both arms. Watching the shoulders don't creep up to the ears. So as soon as we put our arms up, quite often our shoulders creep up. Let's pull the shoulders down and back, but still extend out through the fingertips. So again, that feeling of kind of grounding down, but extending up at the same time. Then bringing our arms nice and wide, stretching out through the fingertips. We're going to come down behind us. Maybe our fingertips come onto the floor. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, opening up the chest, maybe taking our gaze up towards the ceiling and breathing here. Good, slowly bringing ourselves up. Having our legs out in front of us, we're going to bring our legs in like a 10 to 2 position, so knees bent. And feet pointing out kind of at a diagonal, knees pointing out over the feet. Bringing our left hand inside our left leg. So we just want to reach down towards our ankle with those left fingertips, and then reaching the right arm up and over, kind of forming a straight line with our arms, reaching out through both fingertips. And using a bit of pressure between that left leg and left arm to help bring you into the twist. Bringing the right arm back up and over, sweeping across to the other side, reaching up and over, nice big semicircle with that left arm, and coming into our twist. Again, this might feel very different on this side. Noticing where we feel the stretch. Is it in our shoulders? Is it in our back? Is it in our legs? There is no right or wrong, it's different for everybody. So just paying attention to your body, noticing how it is feeling and where you're feeling it. Good, bringing that left arm back, up and over. Giving the legs a bit of a shake. We'll come through to all fours when you're ready. So just taking any support to the side. Coming to our hands and knees, making sure our hands are widely spread. Nice widespread fingers, really kind of grounding down through the palms. So you want to be pushing down into the floor through the whole hand. Same with the legs, that whole lower half of the leg, you want to be pushing down into the ground. But then you want to be lifting up through the back of the shoulders, the lower back. So a nice strong position here. All of the body is working. Okay, let's take our shoulder circles first. So reaching forward with our left fingertips towards the top corner of the mat. Sweep back, up and round. Really extending out through the fingers. Working into the shoulder. And into the hips here. You can kind of sit back into the hips as you sweep back and round. Taking one more big circle and resting the hand back on the mat. Other side, so reaching forward with our right fingertips, maybe creeping the fingertips forward a little, finding a big stretch down your side, and then sweeping back, up and round. Noticing how each shoulder might feel completely different here. If you're right-handed, then your right shoulder might well be tighter, and vice versa. So just being kind to yourself, just being aware that it might feel different and maybe not trying to do exactly the same on each side. Okay, and bringing it all back down to center. Coming into our cat-cows. As we inhale, we look forward, tailbone up towards the sky. And as we exhale, curving up towards the ceiling. Taking the movement in your own time, following your breath and trying to move as mindfully, as slowly with your breath as you can. Really trying to feel each part of the spine move, kind of finding a bit of a rippling effect going through the spine, each movement. So you might want to move slightly forwards and backwards as you come through it, maybe bending a little bit into the elbows. Just find kind of your movement, move intuitively, whatever feels good for you. Okay, coming back to our neutral spine. Stretching the left leg out behind us first, so keeping the toe tucked under, pushing out through the heel, finding a nice opening in the back of the leg. And then reaching out with our right hand, so just keeping the right hand on the floor for now. Firming up the core, firming up the kind of whole torso area. We're slowly going to lift the leg and the arm together. And then we're going to move the leg and the arm at the same time out to the side. So the arm comes out to the right, the leg comes out to the left, keeping them at shoulder height, hip height, and then back to center. And again. Really good for the core, this. And one more time. Bringing both back down to the mat. Other side. So let's stretch out our right leg. Keeping the toes tucked under for now on the floor, so just finding a stretch through the back of the leg. And extending out our left hand, so the left fingertips are on the floor. And then when we're ready, let's firm up our core, slowly lifting arm and leg together. And then let's bring our leg out to the side, arm out to the side, trying to keep them at the same height, back to center. And again. And again. Good. Bringing everything back down to the mat. Let's tuck the toes under, shift the hips back, push up through the hands into our downward facing dog. So let's stretch both of the legs out. Let's paddle into the knees, pushing down through the hands, lengthening the spine. So lifting the hips up nice and high, melting the chest down towards the knees. And then we'll come down into child's pose, bringing the knees wide, toes together. Sink the hips back and down, and then bring the head down towards the mat or down towards a block or a cushion. If you need any support for your head, please do so. And just sinking yourself into your child's pose. You can always have a little kind of wiggle around here, just finding your pose. Releasing into the hips, relaxing the neck, relaxing the shoulders, paying attention to your breathing, how you're feeling. Okay, bringing ourselves back up. We're going to tuck the toes under, feet hip distance apart. Everyone coming back up into their downward facing dog. Then we're going to come up onto our tiptoes. So nice and high on your tiptoes, and we're going to drop the heels over to the right hand side, and then bringing the left arm up, reaching up to the sky, cheeky little side plank, lifting the hips up nice and high, strong through that right arm. Bring the left arm down, back into our downward dog. So bring the hips back and up onto the tiptoes, drop the heels over to the left, sweeping the right arm up towards the ceiling. Lifting the hips nice and high, strong through the core. Then we'll bring the right hand down, hips back up and high. And then we'll walk up to the front of our mat, or you can hop up or step up to the front of the mat, coming into our ragdoll, holding on to opposite elbows, swaying from side to side. Good. Releasing the hands down to the mat, let's uncurl, big inhale, all the way up to standing, reaching the arms up nice and high. And then bringing the hands down to your prayer position. Tadasana, standing pose, mountain pose. Grounding through the feet, feeling strong kind of legs grounding down, rising up through the crown of your head, lengthening through the spine. So really feeling those two forces. Okay, reaching up overhead with the hands. Maybe clasp the hands here. Coming into our side stretch, so coming over to the right hand side. Over to the left. Back up to center. Bringing the hands down through our cactus arms, all the way down, clasping the hands behind us. Opening up the chest, so working on straightening the arms here if you can. And then bending into the knees, folding forward. Arms come up and overhead. Being kind to your shoulders, breathing here. Then releasing the hands, dropping them down towards the floor, reaching forward, coming up nice and slowly through our squat. All the way back up to standing, reaching the arms up overhead, clasping them back into our standing side stretch. So over to the side, over to the other side. Strong through the legs and the feet here, keeping your weight even in your feet. Back up to center, down through our cactus, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Clasping the hands. Really working on straightening those arms. Don't worry if you can't quite straighten the arms, that's fine. Just really squeezing the shoulder blades together to get that opening in the chest. Bending into the knees, forward fold. Breathing, keeping the breath slow and steady if you can. Releasing the hands down, sweeping them kind of on the floor, slowly, slowly, strong through the legs. Bring ourselves up, this time just reaching up to the sky. We'll come back into our forward fold, folding from the hips, bending into the knees if you need. Halfway lift, so finding our flat back, reaching forward with the crown of our head. And then hands come to the mat, stepping back with our left leg. Lowering the left knee down to the ground. So just taking a moment here, just always checking our alignment, knee over ankle, toes pointing forward. We want to be pushing down with the lower half of that back leg. So really strong through the legs here. You really want to be pushing down through the ground and then lifting up through the hips, through the side body, through the arms, pulling the shoulders away from the ears. So even in this position in low lunge, there's a lot going on. Bringing the hands down through our cactus, all the way down, clasping behind us, opening up the chest, maybe coming into a little back bend, looking up towards the sky. Maybe sinking that left hip down, finding a deeper stretch. Breathing. Then releasing the hands, lifting up again, reaching up towards the sky. Hands come down to frame the front foot, tuck the back toes under, stepping back into our plank. Always an option to lower the knees into half plank if you need. And then lowering down to the mat, squeezing the elbows in. Untucking the toes, coming into our back bend. Little baby cobra. Exhaling down, pushing up into our downward facing dog, hips up high. Stepping forward with our left leg, low lunge left side. Again, just finding your alignment. If you need to bring that foot forward, that's absolutely fine. Reaching up. Really grounding down through the left foot, through that back knee, the top of that back foot. Lifting up through the hips, finding that length in the spine. Coming down through our cactus. Clasping the hands behind us. Maybe coming into a back bend. If it's not okay in your back, we can just stay upright. Absolutely fine. Wherever you are, maybe sinking a little bit lower into your lunge. Breathing. Releasing the hands, reaching up to the sky. Nice big inhale. Hands come back down to frame that front foot. We're going to step the back foot forward into our halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, let's sweep all the way up to the sky. And then straight back into our forward fold, bending into the knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come to the mat. This time we'll step the right foot back first. Low lunge again. Sweeping the arms up high. This time we're going to creep that front foot a little bit further forward. So just wiggle further forward, sinking the hips nice and low. So coming into a runner's lunge, we can bring the hands down onto the hips or onto the front thigh here. We're going to bring our weight backwards, so rocking back on that front heel, pulling those toes back towards you. So we want to try and keep this leg straight if we can. Don't worry if it's bent. Just working on kind of extending those hamstrings. So again, just finding your stretch, finding what works for you. If you need to have some support for your hands, you could have some blocks or books here. Or we can have the hands kind of resting on the leg. Breathing into the stretch. Bringing our weight back forward, left hand comes inside the left leg, wiggling the left foot out. Foot's pointing out at an angle here, 45 degrees, and coming into our low lizard. So finding your lizard here, we can stay up on our hands. You might want some support for your hands if that's too much for your hips, or you might want to come down onto your forearms. So finding whatever works for you today. It might be completely different than last time you did lizard. So just have a play around. See how your body is feeling. And breathing when we get there. Really breathing into the stretch, keeping our breath slow and steady. Noticing where we might be holding any tension. Okay, wherever we are, coming back up onto our hands, we're going to lift up the left hand, coming into our bit of a twist, reaching up to the sky with the left fingertips. And then bringing the left hand just on the inside of that left thigh, kind of rocking onto the side, onto the edge of that left foot, and just seeing if we can open the hip just a little further, keeping our gaze up towards the ceiling. Just a very subtle movement. And then slowly bringing that foot back in, wiggling it back to center, left hand comes down, stepping back to our plank. Lowering down to the mat, remember knees first if you need, squeezing the elbows in. Inhaling into our back bend, strong through the back, strong through the legs. And then pushing up into our downward facing. Really pushing down through the hands here and the fingers, the whole hand. Making sure our heels are kind of hidden behind our toes and that our feet are hip distance apart. Relaxing the head and the neck, so just giving your head a little shake. Stepping forward with our right foot this time. Nice big step forward. Lowering the back knee down, powering through the legs. Palming up into our lunge, then we're going to wiggle that front foot a little bit further forward, coming into our runner's lunge. So really seeing if we can sink into the hips. At the same time, kind of lifting up and out from the hips. At the same time we're sinking down, we're lifting up, so you find a really good stretch in that left hip flexor, finding that length in the spine. Bringing the hands down to the hips or onto that front leg. Bringing our weight backwards. So coming into our hamstring stretch. Pulling those toes back towards you, whether your leg is bent or straight. And breathing. Coming back forward, bringing our right hand inside our right foot, wiggling that right foot out so the toes are pointing out at an angle, finding your lizard, your low lizard on this side. So again, it might feel completely different. Have a little play around, see what works for you. Wherever you are, breathing into the stretch, noticing the stretch on both hips going on here. It's a really intense hip pose. And wherever you are, coming back up onto your hands. And lifting our right arm up towards the ceiling, really extending out through the fingertips, really pushing down through the left hand. And then bringing that right hand just to the inside of the right thigh, coming onto the edge of that right foot. So just a little extra hip opener here. And then taking the gaze up towards the sky. Good, okay, bringing that right foot in. Right hand comes down to the mat, stepping back to plank, lowering down through our vinyasa. Inhaling back bend. And exhaling, downward facing dog. We're going to walk our hands back to our feet, so coming to arrive at the back of our mat, keeping our feet hip distance apart. Nice big inhale, reaching up to the sky. Exhale, hands come down. We'll take our hands behind our back, so we can hold onto wrists, onto elbows. If you're especially flexible in the wrists and the shoulders, you might want to come into your reverse prayer. It's a bit too much for me, so I'm just going to hold onto my elbows, but completely up to you. We're going to take a step forward with our left foot first of all this time. So left foot first, left foot forward, maybe just a meter or so, kind of halfway up your mat. We're going to turn the right toes out at 45 degrees, and we want our hips facing the front of the mat. Firming up the legs, so keeping the thighs really firm, grounding down through the feet. So feel that weight through your feet, keeping the weight even in both feet. Slowly bringing yourself forward. And we want to kind of imagine pulling the left hip back and that right hip forward here. So we feel a really good stretch down the back of the left leg. Parsvottanasana. This move. Don't worry about how far down you come, how far forward you come. Remember, this is your pose, this is your yoga. Breathing here. And slowly bringing ourselves upright. We're going to bring the weight onto our front foot. Maybe just point that back toe behind us, finding our balance. And then keeping both legs straight, we're going to swing that right leg through and up in front. Trying to find length through the spine here, engaging the core, both legs super straight. And then bringing that right foot down. Okay, this time stepping the right foot forward. So right toes pointing forward, left toes slightly pointing out at a diagonal, hips facing forward, hands behind the back. Firming up both legs, grounding down through the feet as we hinge from the hips, keeping both legs super straight. Again, do not worry about how far down you're coming. And just imagining pulling that right hip back, the left hip forward. Breathing here. Slowly bringing yourself back up. Keeping that front leg super straight and strong. Just coming into our little balance. So lifting up that back leg behind us. And pointing the back toes back behind you. Bringing yourself upright as we swing that left leg through all the way in front of us, really pointing out through those toes, keeping both legs super straight and strong, strong through the core, strong through the legs. And then we're going to step that left leg back behind us straight away. Let's release the arms, coming into our high lunge, sweeping the arms up and high, finding your high lunge, finding your balance, straight into our warrior two. So pivoting on that back foot. Front toes pointing forward, right knee over that right foot, arms are reaching out, settling into the pose. Strong through the legs, grounding through the feet. Strong through the arms, relaxing through the shoulders, lengthening through the spine. Coming into our reverse warrior, so reaching up and over with that right hand. Left hand can just come to your back or your hip or your leg. Breathing here. Coming back through our warrior two, let's straighten up that front leg, reaching forward with the front fingertips, coming into our trikonasana, triangle pose. Again, lengthening through the arms, through the fingertips, don't worry about how far down you come. Grounding down through the feet, straightening the legs, firming up the thighs. Lots going on here. And we're going to bend into that front leg. So coming into our side angle, you can either bring your right elbow to your right thigh or your right hand to the floor, and then reaching up and over with your left fingertips. So completely up to you which variation you do. Breathing here, strong through the legs, straightening that back leg. Bringing ourselves up through our warrior two, back into our reverse warrior. And then bringing that right arm all the way back behind us, joining onto the left arm, clasping the hands, opening up the chest, staying strong through our warrior two legs. And then straightening up that front leg, turning the right toes parallel with the left toes, coming into our wide-legged forward fold, keeping the hands clasped behind us, and coming up and over with the hands. Hinging from the hips. Keeping the legs straight if we can. Don't worry if there's a little bend in the knees, that's fine. But working on straightening them. Breathing here. And then slowly bringing ourselves up, releasing the hands, bringing our arms out to our warrior two arms. We're going to turn the left toes to point out and then bend into our warrior two left hand side. Making sure that front knee is over the front foot, reaching out with our hands, shoulder height. Settling into the pose, breathing. Reverse warrior. Keeping strong through that back leg, a nice bend in the front leg. Coming back through our warrior two, straightening the front leg, coming into our trikonasana, left hand side. So both legs super straight, super strong, grounding down through the feet. At the same time as really extending up through those right fingertips. Bending into that front knee, finding our side angle pose. We want to reach up and over with the right hand, bringing our left arm onto the knee or down onto the floor. Breathing here. Strong through the legs. Let's bring ourselves back up through our warrior two into our reverse warrior. And then bringing the left arm all the way around behind us, clasping onto that right hand, opening up the chest, keeping that nice bend in that front knee. Watch yours wasn't flopping kind of inwards as mine just was. So keeping that front knee tracking over that front foot. Straightening up the front leg, turning those toes in, coming back into our wide-legged forward fold, arms up and over. Just letting the head hang, if that's okay, on your neck. Strong and straight through the legs. Good. Releasing the hands, this time just bringing your hands out in front of you. We're going to wiggle the feet together, heel toe, until the toes are kind of pointing out at an angle. We're going to come down into our Malasana squat, so sinking the hips down, slowly, slowly finding your squat. So don't worry, again, if you can't come all the way down, if you need some support for your hands or some support to sit on, that's absolutely fine. Just finding your pose, settling in, maybe bringing the arms inside the knees, bringing your hands to prayer, just helping to open up the hips here. Or if you do need your hands down on the floor still, we can still have that kind of pressure between the arm and the leg, just opening up the hips. Breathing here. Okay, then coming out, just bringing the hands down in front of you, dropping the knees down. We'll swing the legs down and round. Bringing the legs out in front of you, giving them a little bit of a shake. Coming into our forward fold, our Dandasana. So legs hip distance apart, toes pulling back towards you. So you might want to swivel around on your mat if you've come to the side of your mat. Toes pulling back towards you, really strong through the legs. We really want to be pushing down through the legs. So our heels are almost lifting up off the floor. And once we're here, just finding length through the spine. So really sitting up tall. If you do need to bend the legs here to get the length in the spine, then do so. The length in the spine is more important. We're finding the length in the spine. If you can straighten the legs, then great. Breathing here. Then just slightly relaxing the legs down. We're going to reach up with the hands and come into our forward fold. So folding from the hips, reaching forward through our hands, and then just wherever our hands fall, it might be the knees, the shins, the ankles, the feet, coming into your forward fold, finding your forward fold. Find that nice stretch through the backs of the legs, the back of the hips, maybe into the lower back. Breathing here. Using your exhales to soften, to release. Noticing where you're holding tension. And seeing if we can find a little bit more space the longer we hold our pose for. Okay, slowly bringing yourself back up to seated. Let's shift our way forward onto the mat. We'll just take a little curl over our knees, just around the spine. Letting the head just hang, if that's okay, on your neck. Okay, bringing ourselves up, reaching forward. We're going to slowly come down in stages. So first of all, we're just going to kind of dip into the lower back, hold here, and then bring ourselves back up to seated. So this will be slightly different for everybody according to how your spine is, how your back is feeling today. But you just want to come maybe a little bit further down each time. Just holding and then lifting. So just taking our time, trying not to just fall back. Using our core, using our flexibility in our spine. Breathing, slow, steady breathing. Okay, and then slowly lowering down all the way. Good.
When we are there, we'll all meet, we'll bring our knees into our chest, have a little rock and roll around. And then finding our happy baby, so bringing our arms inside our knees and the outside of our feet. And then first of all, drawing our knees into our armpits, so our soles of our feet are kind of parallel with the ceiling. We want to keep our lower back grounding down into the floor here. So watch your lower back isn't lifting. If it is, then just hold on to your lower leg rather than your feet. So we really want to find the length through the spine, always the priority in yoga. And then we can have a little play around here, but try and move mindfully through your stretching. I know this is a great pose just to like have loads of fun and throw yourself around a bit, but try and be mindful with your stretching. Really see kind of what feels good, what doesn't, where you're feeling the stretch. And kind of make it active wherever you are. So really kind of activating your legs, activating your core. Good, okay, just releasing your feet. Let's just point our feet up towards the ceiling. We're just going to give our legs a good shake, jelly legs. Letting our feet shake, our ankles shake. Oh. Okay, and then pointing the feet up towards the ceiling, try and straighten the legs. We're going to lower both legs now. Slowly, 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 lengthen and strengthen as we were doing at the very beginning of the class, both legs together. Let's keep our lower back pushing down towards the mat, using the core. Slowly, slowly, all the way down, hovering above the mat. And then releasing. Good. Okay, we'll come into our twist. So bringing our right knee in, squeezing the knee into the chest. We're going to slightly shift our hips over to the right and bring the knee over to the left. Coming into our twist, extending our right fingertips out at shoulder height. And finding your twist, if you need to kind of wiggle your hips a little further and have a little bit of a play. Breathing into the pose when you get here, trying to find that space, that release. Maybe closing down your eyes. Slow, steady breathing. Noticing where you feel the sensation of the twist. Is it in your back? Is it in your hip? Is it in your leg, your arms, your shoulders? Just trying to be aware of the sensations in your body. Slowly bringing yourself back through center, shifting your hips back, kind of in alignment, squeezing the left knee in, extending the right leg out. Bringing the knee nice and close. And then again, bringing the knee over to the right as we just shift the hips over to the left. And coming into your twist, bringing the left arm out at shoulder height, keeping your shoulders on the ground. Taking our gaze over towards the left hand, maybe closing the eyes. And again, just noticing how the twist feels on this side. Where are you feeling it? Can we breathe into the tension? Can we release, let go? Nice, slow, steady breathing. And then bringing yourself back through to center, just shifting your hips back in line with your spine. Let's bring our feet flat to the mat, hip distance apart, toes pointing forward. And let's just take a couple of bridges before coming into our Shavasana. So just peeling our hips off the floor, peeling the spine off the floor nice and slowly. Hips up high, up onto our shoulders, and then lowering back down. Just take a couple more in your own time. Breathing with the movement. Slow and steady. And then when you are ready, coming into your Shavasana, letting the hips sink down into the mat, extending your legs out. You are more than welcome to keep the knees bent and have them knocking in towards each other if that's more comfortable for you, or have them extended out. Legs nice and wide, hands can be on your belly, hands can be down by your side, palms facing up or down. Down is kind of more grounding, up is a little bit more energizing and opens up the chest. So just again, having a little bit of a play, seeing what works for you today. And when we are there, closing down the eyes, softening around the face, softening, relaxing, releasing. Maybe just sighing out your exhales, just really letting go, letting your whole body melt into the mat. Letting your legs be heavy. Letting your feet just kind of flop out to the side. Fully releasing all down both legs. Releasing around your hips, the back of the hips, the side, the front. And then all around your kind of belly area, your abdomen, your core. Just letting it go, fully releasing. Releasing all up your spine into your shoulder blades. Letting your arms be heavy, your fingers just naturally curling, relaxing your hands. And just feeling fully supported by the floor, by the mat. Just feeling heavy, grounded, but energized. Letting the weight of your head fully rest down, so release any tension around the neck. Release any tension around the face. Just notice if you're holding tension around your forehead. Just iron out those creases, those tension lines. Relax your jaw, relax your tongue, soften the eyes. Feel the whole body just melting down. Noticing if any tension has crept up around the legs or the hips or the back, and release it. Then let's wiggle the fingers and the toes. We'll start to bring some life back in. Slightly longer inhales, longer exhales. And slowly move yourself back into your pencil stretch. Pointing away with your toes, reaching up and back with your hands. And then bringing your knees into your chest. Curling up into your little ball. Having a little rock and roll around. And then we'll come to rest on our left or our right hand side. Taking a couple of big, deep breaths while we're here. So really filling your lungs. And fully exhaling. And then slowly, let's push ourselves back up to our seated position. Closing down your eyes as you get there. Feeling grounded down through your points of contact with the earth, so your feet, your legs, your sit bones, lengthening up through the spine, so feeling that energy coming up through your spine, through the crown of your head, lengthening the back of your neck, just bringing your chin down towards your chest, rolling your shoulders back and down, and bringing your hands together into your prayer position, blinking open the eyes. Namaste.